Hello, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of Scaryish.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace, this is Adam Diaz.
Hello.
And we're here to tell you folks, and update you folks, I'm so excited about that. I think it's like one of our first update episodes. But we're going to be talking about a couple different topics.
Indeed we are. I'm actually pretty excited, and as Robin mentioned, we're going to be doing some updating on some things that we talked about in the past.
Because a lot of stuff has been happening lately, which is crazy.
Yeah, we did our anniversary episode last week, so we didn't really cover topics. So we got like 2 weeks and some big things happened. So it's exciting to go over it. I'm going to be going first, and we're going to do updates and then our actual topics. So we're going to have like our fresh topics for you, which I'm sure the episode is already named after. Thank you for that, future Adam. But yeah, I'm pretty excited to get into it. So do you want me to just jump into mine?
Yeah, why don't you go? You go, girl.
Okay, cool. So this week, like I mentioned, the episode's going to be slightly different. As I mentioned last week during the 3-year anniversary episode, my update is going to be on the topic of the monolith mystery, which I covered 2 weeks ago. And then after that, I'll get into my new topic. So to start out, let's cover the newest information on the monoliths. So at the time of the previous recording, when I we don't film. When we recorded that episode, there were 2 monoliths at that point that had been seen. One was the original monolith, or the OG, out there in Utah, which had been taken down right before we recorded. I actually didn't see the video when I started recording. It was later posted to our Spooky Friends group and the Facebook page. And then the other monolith was found in Romania. They were quite different in structure, but overall they were a 3-sided monolith that are around 10 feet-ish tall and were shiny. The OG was much shinier and better looking, I would say, than the Romanian one, which had like that really weird brushed silver look to it, which we weren't too fond of. So first and foremost, the OG monolith. Someone took it down and claimed that it was like litter, stating that they were a naturalist or whatever the fuck it's called, and that people leaving things in nature equates to littering and blah, 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 blah.
It's been there for 6 years, and you didn't even notice it. 4 years, whatever. You didn't notice it, and then you're like, oh, everyone's giving it attention, better take it down. Like, I'm sorry, but rude.
Yeah, it's absolutely rude. That's how I feel too. I get what they mean with the whole hashtag leave no trace thing. Like, you don't want to leave stuff behind in nature if you appreciate it, but that's not what the monolith really was at all. It was done, this whole thing with the whole taking it down and filming it was done for attention, and it was done for clout chasing. And when I see litter, I pick it up. And you know what I don't do? I don't record a fucking video and put a hashtag on it for attention. Like, look what I did. So like I mentioned in the episode, I really think that the way people reacted to the monolith and the future monolith that came up, was part of why they were put up regardless of who it was. And it was visited, eventually hated, graffitied, and then eventually removed. The second monolith went up and came down very quickly. And then we heard news after the episode released of a third monolith that appeared in California.
Yep.
And then the fourth one I heard of was in Las Vegas. And then I heard of another one in Pittsburgh in front of a mall.
It's funny because the one in Las Vegas, I had just tweeted. I swear, I had just tweeted and was like, can I commission someone to make a monolith for our backyard?
Yeah.
And then someone put one up on Fremont, and I was like, what the fuck?
It's like you missed it by a little bit, but hey. But the amount of folks that reached out to let us know when a monolith was popping up was very impressive. We appreciate the spooky community for that. So I decided I was going to keep track of monoliths that were appearing, not just in America, which I think was most of our listeners' focus, but worldwide, since the first one was in Utah and then the second one came up in Romania. So at this point, this is why I asked you not to read ahead of my script, Robin. I will ask you, how many monoliths do you think have appeared in total, including the ones that you've heard about?
7.
7? Okay, so at the time of recording this on December 14th, 2020, there have been 79 monoliths that have appeared around the world.
Okay.
The United States has 22 of them. The other countries that have them include Austria, Belgium, the Czech Republic, Finland, France, Germany. Germany has a lot. Hungary, Italy, Netherlands. The Netherlands has a lot. Norway, Poland, Romania, Russia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, UK, Ukraine, Canada, Australia, Panama, Colombia, and Paraguay. So lots of monoliths have gone up all over the world.
Are they all really nice?
They're almost all 3-sided. They're almost all the same height, around 10 feet, and they're shiny. There was a couple of them that didn't exactly match, but they were definitely monoliths. Some of them were more like pillars of rock, which is kind of what a monolith is more than these things.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like everywhere. A lot of them are promotional in nature, built by folks who take credit for them several days later to gain attention to themselves or to a business. So again, attention, clout chasing.
I saw a meme today that was like, hey, they're selling monoliths
At
wholesale
Costco?
at Costco.
I saw that too.
I was like, oh my God, that's such a good one. Cause,
if they had them,
my
I'd totally
goodness.
fucking buy one. That's all I'm saying. Another interesting development in this case is that a group of 4 artists, Wade McKenzie, Travis Kenny, Randall Kenny, and Jared Riddle, who sounds like Tom Riddle's brother, claim to be responsible for the original monolith in Utah. And they stated that it was just a piece of guerrilla art that they wanted to put up and see how long it took for someone to find it. But when they saw how it was taken down and how it had been treated, they decided that they were going to replace it.
Wow.
It wasn't something where it wound up unfolding how they would have preferred, and it was basically disrespected and called a piece of garbage. So the replacement monolith that they put up was the one on Pine Mountain in California, which was the third one I heard about, which did look incredibly similar to the original one.
Yeah.
So it is worth noting that a lot of the monoliths have been left up just so that people can come visit them. Some of them were taken down by local government, like we don't need people crowding this area, or this is private property. And a few of them were destroyed by private citizens who just wanted to be assholes. The original one...
I hate seeing videos and where people have like carved like obscenities and stuff into them. This is why we can't have nice things.
This is exactly why we can't have nice things.
It's so sad.
So it's worth noting that the original monolith was one of those that was destroyed and taken down by private citizens, as well as the replacement monolith done by the artists claiming to be the people who made the first one was also vandalized, destroyed, and taken down, which is unfortunate. And it's always surprising how people behave regarding any situation, really. And the funniest thing to me about the whole monolith thing is that it's this 10-foot tall thing being put up that has a super shiny surface, you know? And so many people see this thing and somehow have become triggered by them and decide they hate them and they must be destroyed. And it's so weird because it's like maybe that's why they made them so shiny, because they're reflective. And maybe people can't stand what they're seeing in them because they're actually mirrors and people fucking suck. That's sort of what I've decided is the whole purpose of this. But hey, there is your update for the monolith mystery. There's almost 80 of them. We're approaching triple digits. Who knows if it's going to sort of peak in popularity and then go away. There are still new ones going up as recently as the 11th that I could find. So we'll see if they continue, and I'll definitely keep track of this list. So that's my follow-up for the monoliths. Now to shift gears and go into my topic, I gotta say I'm kind of excited because I'm going to be covering a cryptid.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. Like, it's cryptid time for me again. Super excited. Cryptids are one of my favorite things to cover on this show. And this week, I'm going to cover one that I've never personally heard of before, but I've heard of things like it. So it was like familiar and foreign all at once. And it's called the Nokken. Nokken. And a few things to touch on before we really get started. I say Nokken because that's the way I've heard it pronounced online, I guess, by other Americans or people that sound like me. Some people say Nokken. I found the official pronunciation from the region, and it's closer to like Nokken, and I can't really say it very well. It's very hard for me to say that properly, so I'll just be saying this the basic bitch way because I am a basic bitch, which I apologize for.
I'm not going to be knocking you for it.
That was pretty good. I was going to say, someone get me a pair of Uggs and a pumpkin spice latte because I'm a basic bitch this episode. This particular, my apologies to anyone who drinks pumpkin spice lattes and Uggs. If you have both of those things on your person right now, that's pretty fucking funny, though.
I had one pumpkin spice latte this winter season, and I spilled it all over myself and had the whole workday smelling like this sickly sweet pumpkin spice, and I haven't had one since.
You know what that's called? Justice. Because you buy all those fucking soaps from Bed Bath & Beyond that are pumpkin spice so I can smell it all year when I hate it so much. Anyways, let's get back to this topic. So this particular cryptid falls into the mythology category as it's been around for quite some time, and in that time it has earned quite a few names. These creatures have hung out primarily in Europe for this time, and because of that, they have all these names because there's a bunch of different countries and a bunch of different languages in Europe. That said, this particular entity is identified, according to the internet, as a piece of German/Scandinavian folklore. Now, it is possible you have heard of this particular creature before. In fact, I can guarantee 100% that Robin and a lot of you have actually seen an interpretation of this particular cryptid/legend before. And we'll see if she or you can guess what it is before I get there. Probably not, because I wrote my script distinctly to be sneaky. So,
right.
Other names for the Nokken or Nokken include the Nok, N-O-K-K, the Nix, N-I-X, the Nixie, N-I-X-I-E, the Nixie, N-I-X-Y, the Nicor, N-I-C-O-R, the Neck, spelled like neck, the Knack, N-A-C-K.
Knick-knack, paddywhack, give your dog a bone.
They call them knickknacks.
Oh my god.
I think the Nick is supposed to be the male version and the Knack is supposed to be the female version. A lot of these different legends, depending on where you're from too, have two genders for these things as well that are always named something slightly different with slightly different features. Getting back to the rest of the names, Nicor again, N-Y-K-U-R this time. The Naki, N-A-K-K-I. The Knack, N-A-K-K. And then the Nicor, N-I-C-O-R. Good lord, this thing has so many names. They all start with N. Thank you for that. So, what is this thing, and why does it have so many names? Well, first and foremost, it's a water spirit. We've covered a lot of water spirits, and this one is kind of similar to those. So what does it look like, you ask? Well, that depends on who you ask. It's typically depicted as a type of spirit, often appearing as a river mermaid/merman. Now, in German and Scandinavian folklore, the creature is the Nix, and they're male. In Germany, they also have the Nixie, N-I-X-E, which were female versions of this creature. Scandinavian folklore doesn't seem to talk about it very frequently. That said, a lot of places in Europe have a version of this creature. In English folklore, in fact, there is a creature that is said to be similar, known as the Nucker, K-N-U-C-K-E-R, which is the derivative of the Old English word Nicor, N-I-C-O-R, which is one of the names I already told you. I know I'm spelling a lot of shit. I just want to make sure, since there's so many, I just put some information behind it. So the English version is said to be more of a water worm. That's worm spelled W-Y-R-M, not W-O-R-M, otherwise known as a water dragon.
I was going to say, sounds like a dragon.
Sounds pretty awesome. Maybe it's a blue dragon, which my D&D group came across last night, and it totally fucked our shit right up.
A slut. Slut.
That's
slut
a good reference
dragon.
to Rick and Morty. If you haven't seen that episode, go watch it. It's hilarious. Anyways, the reference in Old English to a Nicor can actually be found in a work known as Beowulf. They describe it in the lair that I believe the mother lives in, or the swampy area, the fen, I think it's called.
Beowulf's a good
that
thing
Beowulf
to read.
comes from. I actually really like Beowulf. Everyone in my high school hated it when we had to read it. And I was like,
if your high school did not make you read Beowulf, you should just go read it.
yeah, it's honestly not bad, dude. It's like the whole legend of the hero and how it goes from like one version of morals to a second version of morals to a third version of morals based off of what happens in their life and how old they are is what it really comes down to. It's like, I don't want to get too deep into literary analysis, but like the original fight between Beowulf and Grendel, he's like, I'm not going to wear a weapon. Does the creature have a weapon? I'm not going to wear clothes. I'm going to be full dick swinging when I fight this thing.
God.
And he just fights it barehanded. And then when he goes to fight the mother, he's like, give me my fucking sword. Give me my armor. Give me that super strong helmet. And then when he fights the dragon at the end of it, he's just like, can everyone come with me? I'm super fucking old now. And yeah, so that's just sort of the basic bitch evolution of Beowulf.
All I hear is like that theme song from the American theme song for Dragon Ball Z.
Rock the
Dragon.
That's funny. Anyways, Beowulf is a pretty important piece of literature, and the Nicor definitely makes an appearance in that. If we're talking about the Scandinavian roots specifically, the water spirits were males that played songs that were enchanted to lure people with a violin, in particular, luring women and children into streams or lakes to drown.
Kind of like sirens.
Yes, very much sirens, but like male sirens. In some cases, that is. In other cases, they were just entertainers, and they like to entertain folks with their songs, in particular, children because they appreciate it, and women because they wanted to fuck. So, there is a legend, and there often is, of one of these creatures falling in love and deciding to go live with a human.
Do they have kids?
It doesn't have kids, and it doesn't end in murder, actually, as I think one of the previous water spirit love stories did. It simply misses home too much, and it decides to go live in a waterfall nearby. So it's kind of a sad story.
But you could still, like, leave the waterfall and come back and be like, oh,
I think what it came down to is where they were living with this person was way too far away from water. And I'll bring that up again a little bit later in the show. So they can live among us. But if they don't have regular access to a water source, it can get difficult for them. I imagine they start acting pretty sus.
I have the word sus in mind, too.
I knew you did, because I said Among Us. I planted that word in your brain. You're welcome. So like a lot of cryptids / legends that have been around for over a millennia, it has at one point become wrapped up in religion. I feel like this happens very, very frequently. It's said that the luring aspect of the Nokken wound up wrapped up in Christianity in particular, and that means that the luring song of the Nokken is most dangerous for pregnant women specifically, and unbaptized children. And I imagine that pregnant women are vulnerable in this particular case because they have an unbaptized child inside them. So it's kind of hard to really nail it down because it's such a weird thing, but it's said to be, dangerous for unbaptized children. It's also said in this particular legend that it's most active in luring women and children during Christmas Eve, which is coming up, so be careful. Midsummer's Night, which correlates with the summer equinox or summer solstice is what it's called, which is supposed to be sometime between 6/19 and 6/24, as in June 19th and June 24th, when Midsummer's Night would be.
I was going to say, because some countries do it the other way around.
Exactly. And most notably, Thursdays. Stay home on Thursdays, folks. Don't know why. Couldn't figure it out. It literally just says Thursdays. So if you happen to have Midsummer's Night on Christmas Eve and it's a Thursday, stay inside. As a side note, I know that can't happen. And for those of you who struggle with jokes, that was the joke. Please don't tweet at me. Don't at me. I got it. It is very interesting how when a new culture gets a hold of legends, they start adding these new rules for the creatures, which is just kind of cool and kind of annoying at the same time because there's so much to keep track of at that point. And like realistically, I think I'd be kind of safe, but I'm pretty sure Robin would be in trouble because you're unbaptized, right?
I think so. I don't know. I don't think I've ever been baptized. I went to Catholic school and I was that weird person at Catholic school who did not take the wafers.
You didn't get the Christ cracker?
I never ate Christ.
And you didn't get the shot of blood either?
Nope.
It's a bummer. So there are certain ways in this new set of rules on how to protect yourself from it or battle it. The first is obviously to just get baptized. You can still get baptized. You don't have to get baptized when you're a child. You can get baptized older, I think, in most versions of Christianity. I'm not, a theologian or anything. That said, the ways that you defend yourself is if you see a Nokken or you're one of the people who is being carried off by one, you can defeat it by saying its name. And I know this sounds very similar to the whole knowing the name of a demon giving you power over it thing, but it's said that if you simply call its name, the Nokken will die. And I know that this is a legend. I know it's folklore, but this particular part made me say, like, really? Like, I would legitimately have bought it more if the rules were like, what you have to do is kick it in the balls. Kick it in the mer balls, the mer box, or punch it in the mer tits.
You're so dumb.
And you'll get away from it. So, okay. No, you just say its name and apparently it just dies.
But then, okay, so you have to learn the name of that actual creature.
Everything I tried to look up, it basically says, like, as long as you know it's a Nokken, you're like, Nokken, and it dies. So, or who knows, maybe that's the reason it has so many fucking names. So it's like, I'm a Nixie, did you spell it right? And it just keeps carrying you to its lair.
Spell it right?
So, that's why I gave you all the spellings, folks. Just spell it, yell it out, and spell it loud. So here's another interesting tidbit. Whenever I research these things, I can't help but think two thoughts. How could I befriend this thing? Which I think for everything I look up. Or what would I do if I was one of these creatures? I have those two thoughts all the time. So sort of a nice blend of the two is if you were to go down to a body of water that was home to a Nokken. If you place in the water 3 drops of blood, I believe yours, a black animal, some Scandinavian vodka, and some wet snuff, like powder tobacco.
Why
the
Nokken
Nokken will show up. It says
powder?
Specifically wet snuff.
But why is it powder if it's wet? Wouldn't that be a paste?
I don't know, dude. I don't run the rules. It says wet snuff. It didn't say dry snuff. It said wet stuff. Stuff. The Nokken will...
Is it snuff porn? Like murder porn?
I don't fucking know, but it wants wet powder tobacco. The Nokken, if you give it those things, 3 drops of blood, black animal, Scandinavian vodka, and wet snuff, the Nokken will show up and actually teach you his music. Not just like the sheet music, like the enchantment music, so that you can learn to lure things. which is kind of fucking sweet. Like,
It teaches you all the notes you need to call Epona.
no. So I think this sounds pretty worldly for like such a weird creature. Like you walk down to your local river and say, "Hey, merman, here's some chew, some liquor, my cat, and a few drops of blood. Teach me those sick fucking beats. They slap." And the mythological creature's like, "All right," and just shows up. It's like, "What do you got? Guitar? Cool. Let's do this thing."
If mermaids are rockin', probably a knockin'.
I hate you. Oh, wow. You were just sitting on that one. So some other things that are said to be part of the Nokken legend is that they were harbingers of drowning deaths. So they would be warning you that one was to come. And I think this is something that's actually very common with all the water spirits we've covered in one way or another. If you heard its call and it came at night, the next day would bring a drowning death. Also, the call of these are supposed to be incredibly similar to that of a loon. Like, have you ever heard a loon?
I've heard Claire de Lune.
No, I hate you so much. It's a bird call. It's a very distinct bird call. So it's got to be terrifying if you live in an area that apparently has both Nokken and loons, because who knows when it's the loon and when it's the Nokken, you know?
Yeah.
If you heard a loon, you're like, everyone stay out of the fucking water tomorrow. And if there's a lot of loons, then it's like, I guess no one swims or fishes anymore because someone's going to die. And apparently the malevolent versions of this creature could also cause swimmers to drown, dragging them to the bottom. But in order to be safe, you just have to toss some steel into the water and they will leave you be. Interesting, right?
Just like a rod or like...
It just says some steel. So I don't know.
Huh.
I imagine that part of the legend came up when people had more steel on their persons. But yeah, I was like, that kind of equates to the whole like steel, iron, salt thing. So I was like, maybe there's a reason that these are lake and river creatures and not ocean creatures because that's salt water. But there's like nothing out there on that. That's just me speculating.
I'm trying to think of what I would have in my purse or something, anything that I would have that's steel.
I was like, are my keys steel? I don't think so. They are.
No, I mean, some of our knives might be stainless steel.
So here's this old fucking Coke cooler. This Coca-Cola cooler that you would see on like History Channel on that stupid thing where they restore things. My parents used to have one.
What is that? Pickers.
Yeah, exactly. So it should be worth noting that the reason these creatures seem to have so many forms is they're said to be shapeshifters, first and foremost. So no one really knows what their true form is, but they can appear in essentially whatever form they would prefer. There is another form that is actually the most common that I have kept hidden from you. I told you all the other stuff first. And their name is actually derived from this particular form. And if you speak like 11th century Scandinavian, you're probably way ahead on this one, but the Scandinavian word for this creature is derived from an old Norse word. And that word is also pronounced Nyker, but it's spelled Nykr. And that word literally translates to river horse. And in addition, the Northern Germanic language known as Faroese uses the word Nykur, Nykur, for the creature, which refers to a supernatural horse. So the horse is the preferred form for this creature. So for as much as I have described this thing in various different forms, a dragon, a mermaid, a merman, it is very, very frequently described as a water spirit that prefers to be seen as a horse literally made of water, which is typically actually a guardian of a body of water, as it is in Frozen 2, as it guards the mythical river of Atoholland. And is eventually tamed by Elsa. It was just right there. It was like popular cultural references to it.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
The first one is Frozen. I was like, oh yeah, I totally remember that. So that is what these things look like in a lot of different legends. And while I have already established this creature is a shapeshifter, for anyone that's seen Frozen 2, I imagine all you're going to picture going forward for the rest of time is this thing as the water horse from Frozen 2.
Elsa on that water horse.
So there you go. So there's a little bit more here. There are quite a few fairy tales of these spirits striking deals with folks where they will provide things like riches or abundance in some way, shape, or form in exchange for their children. So very Rumpelstiltskin-like almost.
I don't know the legend of Rumpelstiltskin very well. I just know his name is impossible to say. Are
you fucking kidding me?
I know from Once Upon a Time.
That's not even oh my God. I feel like I need to just cover Rumpelstiltskin next episode. How do you not know? It was one of the first fairy tales I heard as a kid.
All I know is that he falls in love with Belle.
That's totally not what happens. She's not in any of his fucking stories. And the OG thing, like they just crammed a bunch of bullshit together because they made him
love
Beast.
That
in
show
that
is
show.
so
I'm
good.
so upset right now,
Oh,
dude.
man.
The other thing about, I was so like excited to have this Rumpelstiltskin exchange because it's like, he really didn't do anything wrong. He showed up, he's like, hey, I can perform that really hard task, but you have to sign this contract that says, I get your kid. When you have a kid, your kid fucking belongs to me.
But doesn't he say, like, if you say my name, then...
No.
Or someone tells
He's not
them...
a Beetlejuice. No, the original legend is straight up like, this person's like desperate. I'm not going to tell you the whole story because I'm going to have to cover Rumpelstiltskin now.
Cool.
We're going to have to cover like known folklore and just like toss out the stories. But,
All right, cool.
yeah, he shows up and he's like, hey, I'll help you with that. Like this impossible task, I'll get it done for you. And that's the deal he makes. And then the end of the thing is the person's like, I don't want to. Like, I don't want to give you my first kid. And he's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you agreed. And so they fuck him over. It's just like Ursula from The Little Mermaid. Like, she was never, like, shitty. She didn't make her sign a contract. She didn't read. She's like, all right, here's the terms of the contract. You fuck this up. Hey, I get, everything that I want. And yeah, she sends Flotsam and Jetsam to fuck with her to try and, like, distract her. But Sebastian's, like, fucking singing songs like, yeah, fuck the mermaid, or whatever that stupid song was. I can't remember. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Kiss the girl?
That's the one. So I'm just saying, like, Rumpelstiltskin wasn't as evil as they always portrayed him in different versions. All right, we're way off topic now.
Oh my god.
Let's bring this thing back. It is late. I'm so fucking tired. I had coffee today for the first time in forever, and I crashed so hard when it left my system. So, there's these stories of Nokken that are like, hey, I'll give you this in exchange for one of your kids. In one of these stories, a fisherman makes a deal with a Nokken where he will get a bunch of fish during a really difficult fishing season where people are starving to death. And in exchange, the Nokken will get his daughter. He actually turns his daughter over to the Nokken, and when they get back to his lair, the daughter's just not okay with it. She's like, oh, hell no. So she finds a knife and she stabs herself in the heart. She's like,
you'd rather die?
you don't own me. And boom, she kills herself. She'd rather be dead than be property to a Nokken. She's just like, fuck you. And she ends her own life.
What if the Nokken is like Beast and is like the nicest person?
She wasn't doing it. She was not going to be anyone's captive.
Oh my god.
Her blood winds up falling in the water and stains all of the water lilies. And this legend actually is there to explain why in this particular area of the world, a bunch of the water lilies are red. Instead of their typical color.
That's cool.
And
sad, but
totally
cool.
a true story. The story's not a true story. It might be. I don't know. But that's a true story that this is a legend where it comes from, which is Scandinavia. And in Scandinavia, water lilies are known as the Nix rose. N-I-X, another name for the Nokken.
Interesting.
So the Nokken are often associated with notable bodies of water. There are legends about the Nokken or the Nix in the Danube River as far back as the late 1100s, which is forever ago. Danube River is the second longest river in
next to the Nile?
No, I was going to say in Europe. Let me finish my
okay.
sentences. Jesus Christ. So in the 1800s, some guy by the name of Jacob Grimm with two M's. So yes.
Oh, M.
Grimm as in
the
one
brothers
half
Grimm?
of the Grimm brothers of the Brothers Grimm.
Shit.
Wrote that the Nixies, referencing the Nokken, are water sprites who happen to be shapeshifters and held true to most of the legends that came before. They could take any form they wanted, and they could be good or bad depending on their personal motivations. One notable detail Jacob Grimm added is that when in human form, in particular, they have the barest hint of animal features. So like males would have like slit ears, while females would have a, quote, wet skirt. So they'd all be wearing skirts and they'd all be wet. Kind of weird, but hey, it's like, okay.
Okay.
Grimm spoke of them as, quote, higher beings. So they weren't just like basic shapeshifters. They were, somewhere around the demigod level. And people actually debate whether or not they were full gods that would just come down and just decide to interact in human lives. And that's why they had such differences in personalities. And this was something that Grimm referenced. They just had the ability to shapeshift into other forms, not just be shapeshifters who could either be animals or humans. One of the things that really is so fun about doing stuff like this is learning about creatures or legend or folklore and how it changes through the different cultures and throughout the years as time goes on. These beings really sound relatable in the way that they all seem to have their own individuality, and they're not all bound to the same set of rules aside from if you do this, they'll die, Like some want to be horses, some want to be fish or fish people, some just show up as human, some are good and some are bad. And water spirits seem to be represented in so many cultures all around the world, and this one definitely has some overlap with some of the ones we've covered in the past, but its history is specifically tied to the region it's from. And that is always like super, super fun when we do topics, especially on cryptids. I think what they all have in common is these creatures are often used in stories where people are being told, hey, just stay away from the water so you don't die. You know, they're cautionary tales used to like keep people away from things that could be potentially dangerous because people are dumb. And at the same time, there are tales of these benevolent Nokken too, where it's like, it's not a cautionary tale. It's not something to keep people away. It's something to let you know like these exist. And some of them can also be good. So after going through the facts of what this creature is and all the legend behind it, I have 100% decided that when we do get our television/streaming service show, we're going to structure seasons based off of topics. So like Scaryish season 1 - cryptids. And we'll travel the world to do research on a cryptid, like going to all these countries for the Nokken while looking up all these bodies of water that are associated with them and visiting all of them.
That sounds amazing.
I agree. So someone call up Travel Channel because we're going to need like something tied into the fact that we're going to be traveling a bunch and they have to pay for it. I'm not sure which networks Ghost Adventures has been on. I think
Travel Channel.
Is it Travel Channel?
Yeah.
God damn it. What are they on now? Discovery?
No. I think it's still Travel Channel.
I fucking hate them. So don't call them. Maybe we should just call Netflix or Hulu or Amazon. I've seen some of the Amazon shows. I mean, they've got to have money to spare for those turds, so why not us?
What the fuck?
I would love to go around and see these places and see these legends and where they came from and maybe meet one of these things and be like, yo, what's up? I think it'd be really nice. It's like, hey, that's a nice wet skirt you have. I'm not trying to be weird. So hopefully it's not luring me to my death with some sick beats because I don't know what I'll do if that's the case. At this point, it'd probably be playing Velcro by Clarity, which I just cannot seem to get out of my head.
You're welcome.
Since Robin played it in the car, and I'm like, this shit fucking slaps. This is really good. So if you haven't heard that song, go check it out. Garrett, if you check it out and you don't like it, I don't want to fucking hear about it. Put your snobby opinions to yourself. I don't want to hear them.
I bet Garrett still looks good in Velcro.
Yeah, I bet he does. So, anyways, I really enjoyed looking this one up. It's really nice to do cryptids again. Cryptids are so much fun, especially when they're like mythological creatures. So I hope you enjoyed The Legend of the Nokken.
Nice. Thanks.
Thanks for all the Nokken puns.
You're welcome.
So
that's my job.
Before we move into Robin's updates and Robin's topic, we're going to move into some quick commercial breaks. I will say, just before we go into like the regular commercials, Manscaped actually has our code still active. We were supposed to be running until the end of November, and they reached out and said like, hey, we're just going to leave it up for anyone who wants to use it. Their deal right now on their website for the Christmas season is 10% off. If you use code Scaryish, all caps, at checkout, you'll actually get 20% off. So you get an extra 10% off and free shipping, which is super cool. So if you're looking for a late gift, because let's be real, this episode comes out on the 15th, which means there's only 10 days until Christmas.
The 14th was the deadline. So
the deadline for what?
For shipping by Christmas, basic priority shipping was the 14th, I think.
Where at Manscaped too?
USPS.
Oh, well, I don't know if they ship USPS.
Oh, yeah, if it's UPS, I guess it's different. Who knows?
Well, if you're ordering something and you go to manscaped.com, use code Scaryish, it'll still count for us. You'll still get that discount and you'll still get 10% off. So check it out. It's a good late gift or a last minute gift, depending on whether or not Robin's right for the cutoff.
I don't know. Just edit that shit out. Why don't you add it in?
I don't know. It's a good thing to know. I might be right. But either way, if you're looking for something late, go ahead and use that code. It's there. So yeah, no, there we go. Okay, we're going to move into the regular commercials right. Meow.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second half of the episode. So I covered the Zodiac Killer back in episode 95. That is quite a number of episodes ago. Oh my, is that like a year ago?
95. This is episode 57. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's over a year ago.
It's been over 50 years since a mysterious 340 character cipher was delivered to the San Francisco Chronicle from the supposed Zodiac Killer. And it was one of a number of messages that were sent to different newspapers during that killing spree period. There was a video that was posted to YouTube recently by a web designer from Virginia named David Orenchak, claiming that he solved the cipher with the help of an Australian applied mathematician named Sam Blake and a Belgian named Jarl. I'm going to say Jarl because Jarl, but they're Belgian. Maybe it's Jarl.
That sounds like Jarl.
Yeah. Van Eyck, code-breaking software engineer. So they sound like pretty freaking smart people. Definitely something that I couldn't do, obviously. The message deciphered is as follows. Quote, I hope you're having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise. Side note, with paradise spelt incorrectly. All the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me, end quote. And that just makes me think like there's a lot of copycats. Even if you kill me, someone else will do the killing for me, you know?
I interpreted that as because I've killed them, they have to serve me in the afterlife.
Oh.
Like, I don't care if you kill me now because I've already collected them and they, like, belong to me in the afterlife, which is a horrible fucking way to think and sort of kind of fits.
Yeah, I like your idea way
psyche.
better. Yep. Yeah.
It's weird that I think like a serial killer, but yeah.
Okay. Though this message was deciphered, it still doesn't help in the slightest in identifying who the Zodiac may have been, which is really unfortunate.
Well, you said paradise, right? You said it was misspelled. In what way?
With a C instead of an S.
So paradise.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Maybe that's a clue.
It's Andrew Dice Clay.
I hate you so much. You just learned who that person was because their name was on a fucking billboard the other day.
Oh, is
like
it really?
2 weeks ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
who is he?
I told you. We drove by. She's like,
he a
who's
magician?
Andrew Dice Clay? No, he's a comedian.
Oh.
He's an older comedian from like the 80s where it was like, I'm just going to say really dirty, raunchy shit and wear a leather jacket. Yeah, I'm tough.
What?
And like he got popular again randomly. I don't know how. I think it's because he was in that stupid show Entourage.
Oh,
and
I've
then
never
he just
seen
like
that
started
either.
getting popular again. That's just my, I don't know, wild speculation. Get back to the Zodiac.
Okay. the thing that actually matters. The news of the decoding of the message did lead the FBI to have to kind of update everyone, you know, because all this stuff's going on. And they tweeted that there's still an ongoing investigation for the San Francisco division of the FBI, with partnering with the local law enforcement. And that was all that they said. They're like, we want to respect the families and everybody involved. And that's all we can really tell you. And it's sad, but at least they're making an effort and like, we're still working on it. It's not like it's straight up cold case. We're going to leave it, you know?
I think the scariest part about talking about serial killers that have like long since passed, because like that is sort of the culture that exists around true crime, is that it might inspire copycats, you know? And that's a really terrifying thing. So when I think about the Zodiac and it's like, he's gotta be dead by now, or she's gotta be dead by now. It's like, what happens if they are gone and then it just starts happening again? It's horrifying to think about.
I think our generation, there's so many like couch sleuths that just figure all these murders out from their houses. You know what I mean? Like some people have figured out different pieces of evidence that police might have missed and stuff like that and have helped solve murders.
In a lot of cases, the evidence that's needed to crack something, like they don't have access to. That's always the turning point when you watch a documentary. It's like, and then the police gave them all the evidence to review, and that's when something happened.
Yeah.
You know? But to get that, you have to have so much work and so many strings pulled for you. It's like, I get the idea, like I've seen that meme where they say each true crime fan should have a cold case sent to them to decipher. Realistically, if they got all the evidence, hey, maybe that might help.
Yeah.
Like new eyes from an obsessed person who finds that stuff fascinating could never hurt. But realistically, I think the police will keep most things very, very quiet. There's always details of stuff like that they keep specifically quiet.
So that when they talk to somebody,
they know whether or not they're the actual person.
Got it.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So though this is the only one of the only ones that was, or has been decoded so far, there are hopes that either of any of the other messages can be decoded, and hopefully they may hopefully contain the name of the killer, which would be amazing. I can't believe it's been over 50 years and it's still kind of just, we have no idea what they say, you know? That's crazy to me. There was a cipher that had previously been decoded by a school teacher and his wife. I don't know if I brought that up in the episode. I might have. But it stated, quote, "I like killing because it is so much fun," end quote. Like, this guy was really messed up. Apparently he also liked creating puzzles as well as killing people. So he's weird. I don't know.
Maybe that's why he put dice in there specifically.
What? No. Well, dice aren't necessarily puzzles, right?
I mean, they're on board games and stuff. They're not puzzles.
I just think, the fact that we cannot decipher these messages that he sent, I wonder how deep he had to go into making this cipher and these symbols, and you know what I mean? That the FBI still hasn't been able to figure it out, and it took these, 3 other people outside of the whole investigation.
Like language software engineers.
Yes. It's absolutely crazy to me. And how I just really want to know who this guy was, you know, and how his brain worked and how he kind of thought of all this stuff. Because he was sick, obviously, in wanting to kill people and thinking it was fun. But then he made this crazy message that took over 50 years for someone to figure out, you know. It's just mind-blowing, mind-boggling for me. I don't know. Liking to make puzzles doesn't make you weird. I just think this guy is absolutely crazy.
The fact that that's combined with his thrill of murdering people and the joy that he gets from both of them is weird, though.
It's like, is he a genius? And it's kind of like maybe that one guy from the Hannibal show who was like, he was really smart, but he was
Hannibal Lecter.
Oh no, I'm not talking about him. There was another kid in that show who was like, I feel like I want to kill someone and I feel like I need to kill people, but he's a smart kid and he's just like, you need to kill me before I kill somebody. He didn't get to the point yet where he was just like murder spree.
Well, this guy's obviously not like that kid because he's like, I like killing people. Yes. So a little bit different there.
Well, yeah, this guy actually did it.
Yeah, this guy was real.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting that this happened. It's kind of cool to have an update, you know, on these 2 things, like the monolith thing, and then
such a famous cold case too,
and the stuff with the Zodiac that's being updated. I think that's really cool, and hopefully they can figure out more of the ciphers and they can find out who this person is, even if he has already passed away. At least give these people, the victims' families, you know, some sense of closure on the whole thing. All right, so. After all that updating fun stuff, what better way to piggyback off that recent bit of news than to do a topic about some mysterious letters that are still unsolved?
Is this like that one person who was sending those letters to the household?
Kind of like that Watcher one?
Yeah. The Watcher of Whateverville?
Yeah.
That was one of the scariest ones.
The Watcher of Whateverville.
I was like, I hope that fucking dude doesn't listen to this episode and start sending us letters. That would really suck.
All right. So there's a small town approximately 25 miles outside of Columbus, Ohio. It's described as a place where residents can leave their homes unlocked without the fear of break-ins or murders or any of that stuff.
Don't do that.
You know, growing up, my mom used to say that to people that she would meet. I don't know if it was friends or family or whatever. She'd be like, oh yeah, living where we live, it's great. You can leave the door unlocked and no one ever, it's like, thanks for advertising that, Mom. We don't do that now. Now my mom's like, don't forget to lock the door.
Lock everything. I mean, I used to tell some of my friends that when I got my first place by myself, like, yeah, leave the door unlocked, come over whenever. Like, if I'm not there, just pop in. Like, it's just open. And then my fucking place got broken into, and I was just like, never again. Humanity sucks.
Why would you say that?
Because I told my friends. I didn't say I told fucking strangers, thank you. I told people I trusted.
Oh my gosh. You've never heard of the people that just go to doors and try and see if they're unlocked?
No, I hadn't.
Okay. Anyway, so this place was nice and peaceful. Everybody trusted everybody until 1976, when a reign of terror kind of took over the town. And all of this was because of the Circleville letters. That's the town. The town's called Circleville. There were letters. They're called the Circleville letters.
Gotcha. Okay.
During the summer of 1976, the deliveries of these letters began. These letters were filled with threats of violence and entailed personal details that should have only been known by the recipients of the letters. They were full of hate. Some contained lewd artwork. They were mysterious and seemingly untraceable because they had no return address on it. I didn't know you could
They're
mail.
Untraceable because there's no return address. Got you.
I didn't know you could mail something without a return address.
Absolutely.
Really? You can?
I've done it so many times.
Have you really?
Yeah, when I send my threatening letters, I always make sure to leave my return address off.
Yeah, I hate you.
And I
Okay.
always make reference
Whatever.
like, you can't trace this. I didn't give you my address.
All that was on these letters was a postmark from Columbus, Ohio. There's no return mailing address. So it must have been from someone in the community because of the postmark, right?
I mean, that's a bold assumption right there.
All right. Yeah, it's true. But of the 14,000 people that inhabit Circleville, there was one woman who kind of seemed to receive a large chunk of the attacks, of the letters, of the threats. And that was Mary Gillespie. And Mary Gillespie received especially severe and harsh treatment from these letters. She was a school bus driver and was one of the first individuals to be targeted. Within the letters she received, the writer revealed disturbing facts and personal ones, like the fact that she was a married mother and that the home was being watched. It was like creepy stuff that you don't want someone telling you, you know, you don't want you don't want a letter that's like, oh, hey girl, I know you're married. I know when your kids leave. I know when you go on your route. You know, I'm just watching your house. I know everything you do. That's just creep. It's like the other episode we did.
Right.
With those other letters. They accused her of having an affair with one of the school superintendents, Gordon Massey. The writer demanded that she stop and that the whole thing wasn't a hoax or a prank, that they need to take it seriously. And it went, quote, I know where you live. I've been observing your house and I know you have children. This is no joke. Please take it serious, end quote. And then we have a couple pictures that we'll post on Instagram later of a couple of these letters.
Is it possible it was like a significant other of one of the people she was accused of having an affair with?
We'll get there.
Okay. Case closed. Solved.
It's still unsolved, so I mean. All right. So at first, Gillespie kind of just kept them to herself, hiding them away. She tried to keep an eye out for anyone that could be following her on her daily activities. Just imagine living your life like that, you know, where you're just kind of afraid of everyone and everything, and you're always looking over your shoulder. And I'm sure there are some people out there that just kind of live their life that way. But it's a scary thought to think that you're getting these threatening letters and you don't know what to do with them or yourself, you know. Despite her efforts to hide these letters from her family, one day a letter came addressed to Ron Gillespie, her husband. And this letter was pretty straightforward. It stated that Ron was to put an end to the affair or be killed.
Wow.
Pretty straight up. I mean, I think the letter specifically was like, you need to go and tell the school board what's happening and just, you need to report this. And so Mary, of course, was all like, not quote, it's not an actual quote. She's like, yo, dog, I have no idea what that writer is talking about. There's no affair. That bitch is cray. She just denied the whole thing. She's just like, nah.
Are you sure that's not a quote?
Yeah, I'm sure that's not a quote. She might have said it just like that. Who knows? I mean, it's 1970.
Yeah, people all spoke like that back in the 70s.
Even if this was just a failed attempt at blackmail, Mary was already seen as a skankosaurus, whether or not it was true. People were spreading rumors, bad.
Wait, how was she seen as a skankosaurus? Did other people get letters talking about this, or?
It's like, cause,
I thought she was keeping it quiet. That's why I'm asking.
So her husband got a letter, and then
he's like, my wife's a whore!
So they're fucking arguing about, like, are you cheating on, you know what I mean? And bad gas travels fast in a small town.
I hate you so much for quoting Letterkenny.
And gossip mills are just turning, you know? People are talking shit. They're talking behind her back, probably like, oh yeah, I know, whatever. Maybe they saw her with so-and-so on a certain day and they're like, oh yeah, that's totally happening. Who knows? But, Ron and Mary, they tried to get through it. They tried not to pay attention to the threats and the intimidation. And then came another letter. And it said, quote, Gillespie, you have had 2 weeks and done nothing. Admit the truth and inform the school board. If not, I will broadcast it on CBS, posters, signs, and billboards until the truth comes out, end quote. And so now everyone's gonna know their shit for sure because signs start popping up, shit starts popping up.
Does it actually start popping up? Or is it just a threat?
I'll get there. So they discussed with each other, trying to find out who the culprit could possibly be. One of their suspects was David Longberry, who was a fellow bus driver that had previously made a pass at Mary. They turned to Ron's brother-in-law, Paul Fresher, who had spent time as a prison guard at Ohio State Penitentiary. And Paul was recruited to write a letter to Longberry to kind of let him know that they were onto him. Like, hey, you need to cut this shit out. We know it's you. They requested that he stop all of it without resorting to violence. And they thought it worked. And for a while, the letters did stop. And then the signs started popping up around town. And they were like big signs. These signs stated that the superintendent was romantically involved with their 12-year-old daughter, Tracy.
What the
Yeah.
fuck?
I'm saying, like I said, these letters were,
But that's not what the letters had said originally. It was accusing the mother.
But they're trying to get them to react. You know what I mean? So it's like, you better fucking do something. You better stop that affair, or this is going to get worse and worse and worse. And so it's reported that Ron drove around town early in the morning to take down the signs every morning so that their daughter wouldn't see them.
Wow, that's just horrible.
On August 19th, 1977, things were going pretty normal as they could be anyway, and then the phone rang. Ron answered. Supposedly, the caller stated that they were watching the house and knew what Ron's truck looked like. Ron hung up with a fit of anger, claiming that he recognized the caller's voice. He grabbed his pistol and then left the house.
Wow.
So Ron's car strikes a tree at a nearby intersection that kills him.
What the fuck?
When police investigate, Ron's gun was found to have been fired once. Detectives found no reason as to why he may have fired or whether it was deliberate or not. The crash had happened just like minutes after he had left the house. Further investigations show that Ron's blood alcohol level was 1.5 times the legal limit. Those that knew him confirmed that he was sober/dry. He did not drink. People were and are adamant that drinking just was not who he was. So there's no way that he would have been that wasted, you know? There was also no bullet casing found at the scene. So the gun's shot once, no bullet casings found. They think that the gun was not fired in that vicinity.
So the gun, okay, I'm sorry. The accident that killed him took place how recently after he left the house?
It's like minutes afterwards.
So he left the house, suddenly became intoxicated, and then crashed the car.
That's
and
why
died?
they're like, what happened, you know? There was a point where the sheriff admitted that there was more to the crash than what met the eye, but later on he denied those claims, which is super sketch. The writer of the letter sent further letters contacting a number of residents, almost as if they were begging for a more thorough investigation into the incident. It inferred that there was some kind of big cover-up regarding the accident and that Mary and Massey were responsible for his death.
Wow.
And then letters also accused the sheriff of mishandling an investigation into a Pickaway County coroner named Dr. Ray Carroll, who had been accused of sexual abuse by several children. I'm really curious as to who this author is because he knew, or they, it could be either.
Multiple people,
yeah, it could be multiple people. And it's just they knew so much about everyone's business. And it's something like, it has to be someone who is like a fly on the wall, like maybe the janitor. You never notice that they're there, you know, but they hear everything. And
I have always noticed janitors.
Really?
Yeah, like I always notice when someone's around me when I'm talking, because I'm not going to be like, oh, they have some sort of profession that I apparently think is invisible. I'll just continue talking about this super private stuff around them. There are no people like that around me. They're all suspicious. Mind your own fucking business. I respect your profession.
What if it's someone who's like in telecommunications and they're just up in the ceiling doing the cables for the
If I don't know they're there, then obviously how the fuck am I supposed to know not to talk about stuff?
Exactly. What if they're just like these somebody in a position where you're like, you're not thinking about the fact that they're there, but they are. You just don't think about it, and then you do these naughty bad things and they catch you, you know? Who knows? Who knows? That's just me randomly talking out my ass. Anyway, the letters to Mary Gillespie continued even after this happened. So she got letters as well as her immediate family and a number of elected officials. These continued their threatening and vulgar nature. And what's even more fucked up is after Ron dies, Mary eventually admits to having an affair.
Wow.
So she eventually admits to having an affair. She just couldn't take the abuse of the letters anymore, and she's just like, it happened, but she insisted that it only began after the first 2 letters, not
so she's
before.
like, maybe I should fuck that dude.
I know! Oh my god, okay, so I'm just like, if these letters are coming at you and they're like, stop cheating, and she's like, no, I guess I'm gonna start. Like, no! Was it the same guy? That sounds like absolute horseshit.
Was it the same guy that she was accused of having an affair with?
Yeah.
Maybe he's the writer. Maybe he was like, how dare you have sex with that beautiful, handsome, giant-dicked man?
Oh, man, dude.
And she's like, I'm not doing that, but...
When I saw that, I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That sounds like such horseshizzle. I'm just saying. On February 7th, 1983, Mary's on her route when at the intersection of Scioto Darby Road and 5 Points Pike, she spots a handwritten sign that threatens Tracy, her daughter's life. She is so incredibly angry, she stops, goes to remove the sign, and while doing so, she notices that there's a box tied to a string that's attached to the post that has the sign in the ground. She takes the box and everything back to the bus with her to open it. When she opens it, she finds what is supposed to be a .25 caliber pistol booby trap. It was luckily not a very good booby trap because I guess the person that set it up assumed she would yank the sign out of the ground or rip it down, and instead it was just gently moved, I guess, and so it didn't go off.
Controlled rage instead of uncontrollable rage.
She calls the police, and they're able to discern that someone had made an attempt to file off the serial number. Luckily, they're able to take enough off of it to trace the gun back to Paul Fresher, who still denied any involvement with any of the whole thing. He stated that the gun had gone missing ages ago.
Wow, what horseshit.
If your gun goes missing, wouldn't you report it to the police?
No. I wouldn't want the police knowing what an irresponsible gun owner I was. Oh my god. No, I would report it, realistically.
You would have to report it because if any crime is committed with your gun, you are responsible.
Right.
It's like, this guy's so freaking sus. I can't even.
I hate you.
Like,
I can't believe he lives among us.
Oh god, not anymore. When Paul Fresher was accused of being the culprit, he totally denied the whole thing. But then Mary denied the affair too, so you can't really trust people at face value.
Maybe he wasn't writing the letters until the letters started accusing him of writing the letters.
Mayhaps.
I hate that word.
Really? You hate that word? I don't even... Is that a real word?
I don't know. You just say it a lot.
I do say it a lot.
The face you get and your chin waggle when you say it, mayhaps.
The gun was a pretty solid piece of evidence. They brought Fresher in, had him take a handwriting test to match it to the letters. This part of the investigation is heavily criticized because the administration of the writing test was, I guess, done incorrectly or something like that. Despite this, the sheriff was like, yeah, it's good enough, and arrested him. So the trial begins October of 1983 and lasts 1 week.
Wow, that's a quick trial.
It's a quick trial. Though Fresher supposedly had an alibi the day Mary found the trap, he was convicted of attempted murder using a firearm and sentenced to 25 years in prison.
Holy shit.
With the recommendation that he spend at least 7 of those years behind bars. And there was other evidence, of course. It wasn't just like, this gun is yours, so you're guilty.
He wrote these words. They kind of look similar. Hashtag fuck 'em.
That's exactly what the lawyer said. Hashtag fuck 'em.
Yeah, and then you sit there and while the jury's deliberating, you see your topic is trending or your hashtag is trending and you know you're going to win.
One of his coworkers testified that Fresher had purchased the gun from him for $35, while personnel records also showed that Fresher took February 7th off, which is the day that Mary found the gun. It's a lot of sketchy things all together.
Right.
Much like the rumors and gossip about Mary and her affair, the town was sure that Fresher was the guilty party in all of this. He was a model prisoner while incarcerated. Further, the letters continued despite his being incarcerated.
You can send letters from prison, I'm just saying.
So what they did while he was in prison was they kind of regulated everything that went in and out. Letters would start showing up even when he was in solitary confinement.
Wow.
So
why would he be in solitary confinement if he was a model prisoner?
I don't know, man. I didn't work there.
You're saying they regulated his
in
and out? That sounds awful. I love in and out.
Yeah, they didn't give him his animal style fries. You're so stupid.
That's just maximum security.
So yeah, even while he was in jail, letters kept getting sent. And they were like, he has no pens, he has no papers, there's no way he can be sending these letters. And these letters were postmarked from Columbus, which is nowhere where he was incarcerated. The letters also kind of got more bizarre. They got more disturbing.
The handwriting change.
I don't think so.
Oh.
Because no one ever mentions the handwriting change.
Shit.
Even the prison wardens were really skeptical and doubted that Fresher was actually the culprit at all.
Did he have any visitors? I have lots of questions.
I didn't read that he had any visitors.
Did anyone check the logs? I need to know who his
kids,
visitors
though,
were.
So maybe his kids visited him.
His kids were the ones writing those fucking letters.
Police were adamant in believing that he was the one that they were after. So even though there were a lot of people that were like, it's not him, they were like, no, we're good. It's him. He's doing something
quote,
from prison.
Nah.
While he was in prison, he received a letter that said, quote, "Now, when are you going to believe you aren't going to get out of there? I told you 2 years ago, when we set them up, they stay set up. Don't you listen at all?" End quote.
That's fucking weird.
That's fucking weird. 6 months after his release from prison in 1994 on parole, Unsolved Mysteries airs a segment on the Circleville letters. A few days after they, I guess, they don't post it. They don't have YouTube yet. After they,
Air.
After they air that segment, they get their own letter that states, quote, "Forget Circleville, Ohio. If you come to Ohio, you El Sickos will pay. The Circleville writer," end quote.
I don't buy it.
I don't buy it either.
Yeah,
Sounds
I'm pretty
like
sure
bullshit.
that was fake. All of a sudden, they're multilingual.
Who knows? Though he spent 10 years in prison, Fresher maintained his innocence until his death in 2012 at the age of 70. So this whole time, it's like, dude, it wasn't me. And when you're saying that all the way till you die, it makes you want to believe that.
Have deathbed confessions where they're like, okay, hang on.
I want her to know it was me.
It was me. And then they die and people are like, yeah, but can you trust it? It's like, I think that's when you really can trust it.
Some think that it may have been Fresher's wife, Karen, that may have set him up because she was spiteful over their divorce. So after Ron died, Mary's husband, after he dies, they go, because I think Karen was Ron's sister.
What? Why didn't you mention that sooner?
Well, Paul is his brother-in-law.
So, okay. Did you say that?
Yes.
So the brother-in-law made a pass at his wife?
No.
You said that Fresher had made a pass
David
at Mary.
Longberry, the other bus driver, made a pass at his wife, so Fresher was recruited to write a letter to Longberry to tell him to stop.
Oh, I thought Fresher was the one who made the pass,
No.
and Longberry was the one.
No.
I'm so confused by this now. So the guy who wrote the letter to the person who they suspected was the Circleville writer.
Was the brother-in-law.
And he's the one who wound up going to jail.
Yes.
Get the fuck out. This makes no sense. I thought I had a handle on this thing. This was an open and shut case. I have no idea what's going on.
So Karen...
This is the fucking end of Usual Suspects all over again. I don't know what the hell is happening now.
What's his name? Sammy Sosa?
Kaiser Soze. Yeah. Sammy Sosa? Get the fuck out of this office, man.
No, okay. This is so fucked. So, Karen is Ron's sister. After Ron dies, Karen and Paul Fresher, they go through a divorce in which Paul ends up with custody of the kids. During their divorce filings, Karen claims that Paul's physically abusive and prone to violent behavior. Fresher claims they're getting a divorce because Karen was having an affair. She was cheating on him. But Paul ends up getting the kids. So I wonder what happened up in there. I'd be pretty bitter if I were Karen and that happened to me, especially if he was abusive and violent, and lawyers were like, he's getting the kids. You know what I mean? It's fucked up. That being said, a journalist named Martin Yant described Karen as, quote, a very, very angry, manipulative woman who was still planting negative stories about Paul in the early 1990s, end quote. And that's while he's in jail. So even though he's in jail, she's still like, he a bitch, you know? I don't know.
I'm just so confused by this most recent twist and turn.
Because
I thought that the guy who got thrown in jail was the first person they suspected.
No. So
I didn't realize that the twist had happened before, when the person they had recruited to write a letter, ironically, to someone to say, yo, stop, wound up being the person that everyone's like, actually, it was him the whole time. Yeah. What the fuck? Circleville. What's going on out there, y'all?
So according to another bus driver that was working the day Mary found the gun, there was a yellow El Camino parked at the intersection with a man that looked like Fresher standing nearby pretending to pee. They never definitively identified this man, though some connect this back to Karen because a relative of hers owned a yellow El Camino, and her boyfriend and eventual husband looked similar to that man seen at the intersection. I don't know.
A lot of weird shit going on here.
Yeah. No new evidence has come to light on the case, and no new letters have arrived after the early 1990s.
I would feel a lot better about this story if Mary, was her name, right?
Yeah.
If Mary came out and she's like, all right, I was fucking the dude before the letters got there. Because that's one of the weirdest parts of the story.
The fact that she's like, no, it started after we got the letters. Like, if you're getting these letters, why would you even?
It's like, so you were incepted, is what you're telling me. Like, you had no thoughts about this.
The letters came from the future.
It's just like, that's not how Inception works, but whatever.
I'm not talking about
Have you watched
Inception.
any of these fucking movies
I'm
at all?
not talking about Inception. It's like, the letters came from the future and they knew she was going to start cheating, you know?
Yeah, thanks to Sammy Sosa. It's so weird.
Okay. So, the writer was totally correct about that, Dr. Carroll. You know how they were saying, like, the sheriff totally fudged up that investigation?
Yeah.
They were totally right about it because in 1993, that doctor was charged with 12 counts, 8 for gross immorality, sex crimes, corruption of a minor, pornography, and obscenity and indecent exposure.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. So the fact that this writer was like, you fucked up and it's gonna come and bite you back in the ass, or whatever that turn of phrase is. And I think that's absolutely crazy, and it makes me really want to know who this person was.
I think it's multiple people.
You think so?
I think everyone started hearing about this shit happening, and they started sending letters about the dirty little secrets they knew in the whole town.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, this is something that happened, and like, this is something that needs to be fixed. But I don't know. This happened when I was 9. This happened between like when I was 5 and 10 years old. So
yeah.
Just, I don't know. Don't do bad things, people.
Longberry, that other bus driver that made a pass at Mary, raped a girl in 1999.
Holy shit.
And became a fugitive on the run, and is still on the run as of 2005.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yep. So it sounds like this town was kind of just full of skeletons, and there was just this vigilante out there who was like, shit needs to get fixed around
The
here.
guy dying is so fucking crazy. Like,
Yeah.
he leaves, he crashes the car, all of a sudden he's dead, and he has this blood alcohol level, which I imagine it's 0.08 in Ohio.
How?
So 0.16 would be very high.
It's 0.16. How'd you know?
I just said 0.08 is probably Ohio, just like it is everywhere else.
Holy shit, you're so smart.
No, 0.16 would be double the legal limit. You said 1.5 times.
It's
which would be
0.16. His blood alcohol level was 0.16.
But yeah, this one is just absolutely bizarre. I think you're right. It sounds like a town of skeletons all came out of the closet at once and started pointing fingers at each other. Someone wound up dead. Someone almost wound up dead because they almost got assassinated by a really shitty booby trap.
I know.
The first thing I thought was like, there's a bomb in that. But someone's like,
That's
all
what
right.
I thought when I started reading. I was like, it's a bomb, it's a bomb, it's a bomb. It wasn't a bomb.
I'm going to put a gun in here with a string tied to the trigger because
God.
that's what Wile E. Coyote
They would have had
did.
better luck putting in a claymore, just saying.
Yeah, I think it's a lot harder to get a claymore, but I don't fucking know, man. I've never shopped for a claymore or a
They
gun.
got a gun for $35. I mean,
So it's definitely going to be a lot harder to get a fucking claymore.
how the hell do you get a gun for $35?
I mean, it was...
I've gone to the gun store. They're like $300 fucking bucks.
I mean, now, yeah, they were a lot cheaper before. And obviously,
yeah,
he got one like from a
1970s.
private owner. So it could have been just this piece of shit gun. It wasn't like a
You're right. Yeah.
pristine brand new gun.
But yeah, that is the crazy tale of the Circleville letters.
That is crazy. My mind is officially blown right now, so I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I have no idea. I think it was multiple people. I think that's what wound up happening.
I really want to know. And so with the letters, they're all written in all caps. They're pretty shoddily.
So they're just yelling the whole time.
They're pretty shoddily written. So people think that it was an attempt to kind of mask the actual handwriting of whoever was writing it. So, I mean, maybe it is a whole bunch of different people, and that was like their way of kind of keeping it secret that it's a whole bunch of people.
This is why you clip letters out of magazines and newspapers so that they can't identify your handwriting.
They can track the glue.
Can they track the glue?
Yeah, and the newspapers they come from.
Okay, just so you know, in case this is what you're basing it on, they track the saliva in Miss Congeniality off of the envelope, not the glue on the letter.
No, but they can go to
Is this the Miss Congeniality?
No! They go through the glue, right? They track where the glue is manufactured. Right?
Okay, what if it's Elmer's glue?
Fuck, that's true. Maybe different factories have different chemical compositions.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure the glue formula stays the same no matter what.
I know for me.
I don't want to argue about this at the end of the episode.
I know, but all I'm thinking is how many times I've glued my fingers. Maybe there's skin cells in there.
If you were the kid that glued your fucking fingers together, I don't think you get to argue with me.
It's not gluing my fingers together, but haven't you ever gotten like extra glue outside of your paper and you're like, nope, not smooth. I got to rub it smooth.
I wouldn't do that if I was mailing a threatening fucking letter.
That's
I'd be
true.
very, very careful about it. Trust me.
That's fucked up.
I'm just going to put this out there. I have made a letter with a bunch of different letters from a magazine before, and it was untraceable because I did not leave a return address. Just saying. I hung it in my friend's locker, so.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Good to know. Fuck, I'm scared now. You're kind of creepy. But yeah, no, I mean, obviously they didn't do that with the letters in here. They just wrote it with pen and paper, so.
Yeah, they got away with it, man.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up, because someone died, and I feel like everyone's death should at least have information revealed about it.
And I really want to know what happened between him leaving the house and to that untimely death.
If he died right away once he left the house, too, that's just so bizarre. And he discharged the gun in the short amount of time he was out there.
And they can't find the bullet casing.
That's just weird. I thought the immediate thing that my head went to was like, this is a fucking cover-up by the police, the local police.
It seems like it.
And it turns out that they covered up the doctor thing, too, so, yeah. I think they knew what was going on the whole time, and they're just like, we're just gonna hope it goes away.
Who knows? All I know is a lot of bad things happen in that town.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of history in that town.
Oh my God.
So, all right. Good stuff, Robin.
Thank you.
All right. So if you have any stories you would like to share with us, not necessarily about like the horrible things going on in your town. I'm thinking more like supernatural, spiritual, creepy, coincidental, stuff like that.
But if you have some murders or...
Don't tell us about the murders you've committed.
No.
Just reach out to us about like true crime stuff that you're aware of. Or
have you come across, like accidentally run into a murderer and didn't know they were murdering until after they murdered, or... You know. You're
just like way far down the rabbit hole. I'll take the casual stuff too. We don't have to go for like the I met Jeffrey Dahmer and he almost ate me. We could just do some normal stuff too. So whatever the case may be, please email storytime@scaryish.com or go to our website, scaryish.com, and click on contact us. You can also hit us up on any of our social medias. Instagram is @ScarishPodcast. Twitter is @ScarishPod. And Facebook is facebook.com/ScarishPodcast. Robin, for folks who like to donate to us, how can they do so?
If you would like to donate to us, you can go on over to patreon.com/ScarishPodcast. Those are monthly donations. There's a whole bunch of different tiers you can kind of scroll through and check out. We have a $1 tier that lets you get ad-free episodes, which is absolutely awesome. We also have $10 tier that is the first tier with some physical merch. Right now it's a Krampus keychain and magnet that I designed and am personally mailing out to everyone. And then there's a whole bunch of different tiers. Check it out. If you don't like the whole monthly donation concept, you can go to ko-fi.com/ScarishPodcast, and those are one-time donations. All your donations go to helping us upgrade our studio setup and kind of give us a little bit more time to do what we do, because this, again, as we always like to remind everyone, is just something that we do as a hobby, and we kind of just love all this creepy, weird, true crime, cryptid, ghost stuff. So, thank you.
Indeed. That's everything we have for episode 157. So, Robin, sign us out.
Why don't you sign us out today?
Keep on creeping on, and we will talk to you later.
No, I'll do it next time.
Bye.